Hello! Welcome to the very first episode of the Developer Show powered by GitLab. We are all super excited to be launching this new series. I am Fatima.
And I'm Sal. Welcome everyone to the show. This is going to be a monthly series for developers and developer adjacent people who want to dig into the tech that's actually changing how we work.
Today is also GitLab 18 launch day. Woo! So we are kicking things off today with a really packed lineup of all the things that we're talking about, from open source to some live coding later to some trending technology that everyone's talking about and a few surprises.
And on that first surprise, we've got a special guest, someone who's fairly prolific in the developer community. Some of you might know him. Eddie Jawed is going to be joining us for a chat to talk all things open source, AI. We're going to be exploring MCP, or Model Context Protocol. And best of all, maybe not best of all, but excitingly, Fatima is going to test Duo Agentic Chat live on stream.
That's right. We're going to be doing that live. I'm a little worried that things are going to go wrong, but really, everything is going to be great. And we really want this to be really authentic. So we'll be showing you real tools, real workflows, and just kind of having fun with each other and having fun with you by proxy.
And we definitely want to hear from all of you. So please drop your thoughts in the chat throughout the live stream. We'll share your questions and even your hot takes live.
Sorry, I was too busy looking at the chat. I was like reacting to
Do
things
we
that
have
I
any hot
forgot.
takes yet?
That was my cue. Well, people were like, "Let's go!" All right. So we've already brought in Eddie Jawed, open source advocate, consultant, creator. You've been building communities. Now you've been working on SaaS solutions. You've been mentoring people throughout the years. I'm a huge fan, even from before I was working at GitLab, and we were sort of bringing you into things. So, Eddie, thank you for joining the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to geek out with all of you today. It's a great honor. I'm so excited and a little bit nervous because you're all just awesome. So I'm so excited for today.
We also have Matt here today. Matt, we were going to bring you in a little later, but surprise, you're here on the first segment. So, Matt, if you want to say hello, and then we'll jump into guest interview with Eddie.
Yeah, of course. My name is Matt Charnitsky. I'm a customer success manager here at GitLab and couldn't be more excited to be here today.
Awesome. Well, Eddie, it's been a long time since you and I have been on a video call together. So, welcome back.
Thank you so much.
Have you been working on lately?
Wow. Well, thank you so much. I'm just, again, so excited to be here. Since we last spoke, I've actually been concentrating on building my SaaS products. And it's been great because it's given me the opportunity to play with AI more and try and find that balance, because I went from not using AI to using AI to vibe coding, actually use GitLab Duo on a live stream with some of the GitLab teams. And I made some videos out of it as well. And then I'm trying to find that balance in the middle. So it's just been super excited that I can actually have time to do both ends of the scale and find that happy kind of medium, that happy balance, which I know we're going to talk about a lot later on.
It's really hard to find that balance, I think, because you're sort of transitioning from the type of work that, and I'm making assumptions, so feel free to correct me, but like transitioning from one type of work to another, but there's like work that you love in both pieces of that.
Absolutely.
And so we saw, I think someone, you saw this, the Substack. Eddie just launched a Substack.
Yes, because unlike you, Fatima, I have not met Eddie before. This is maybe our first time meeting each other.
Meet someone. Someone meet Eddie, two of my favorite people.
Like any good co-host, I did a bunch of homework leading up to this because
a little bit too much homework
Yeah.
for the audience.
You know what? Show don't tell, right? That's
Oh
the,
my God.
that's the developer mantra. There it is. There was a lot of note taking. Because this is important, right? And I wanted to get a sense on who you were. And one of the things that really caught my eye was, yes, you're a Substack. I'm curious to hear from you because I do a lot of blogging myself, and it's just really great to see how this community is so about sharing knowledge. Like, what inspired you to start your Substack? And what are the types of stories that you find really resonate? What are some insights that you want to share with your followers?
Thank you so much for doing that research. I'm a bit nervous now to see what you
All the hard
found.
questions.
Yes, no hard questions. You promised me that. On the invite, it said, I promise no hard questions. So,
So we're
okay.
about to open those questions that we didn't tell you about.
So yes, I've got more and more into blogging recently. So I'm more of a visual person. So I actually really enjoy creating videos on YouTube, live streams, and also consuming videos. So watching videos. But more and more recently, I've kind of wanted to jump around a little bit more in terms of when I'm consuming content. And so I thought, well, others probably want to do the same. So I've started writing more, and I feel I can come back to it in bits. So I can write something and go, you know what, let me just sleep on that for a couple of days. Not that I'm going to sleep for a couple of days, but let me go do something else for a couple of
Sometimes I
days.
sleep for a couple of days.
I wish. But I can kind of come back to it and tweak it. Whereas with a video, you kind of want to record it more or less in one or two takes and then get it into editing. So I've actually really enjoyed consuming more written content and actually creating more written content. And I found that you can have kind of more conversations with the community. I don't know why that is, but just in the comments and in DMs, and people can quote things a lot easier. Then in a video, they can't kind of copy and paste what was said from the video. So I'm actually really, really enjoying that. And I've spent years focusing on short form content on places like Twitter, but I want to kind of grow that into writing more blogs. So I just document my authentic journey. To be honest, it's not me, saying, hey, I've always achieved this, always achieved this. Usually it's I've failed and this is what I learned from it, and so on. And I enjoy that, sharing that authentic side of things. But there was a second part to your question. So can you remind me what that was?
Well, I don't remember what it was, but I had a comment on something that you just said, because you said,
Yeah.
It's easier to interact with the community and people can quote and respond. I'm curious, full disclosure, I'm not a developer. I work with a lot of developers. Do you think that has anything to do with the fact that there is such a documentation first culture within the developer community?
That's a really good question. I'm definitely seeing things change. I think they're kind of changing and then changing again with AI. Again, I don't want to give too much away what we're going to discuss later on. But yeah, I think so. I think they're so used to documentation. But in an ideal world, which I'm trying to get to, and I think others are as well, you would have the video and have a blog post.
And then like two short videos and then 7 tweets.
Yeah, exactly. And you could go both directions. I mean, not to get too much into content creation, but you might do a few kind of short form posts on Twitter or LinkedIn, and then go, oh, you know what? I've got some really good comments. Now I can actually make a video or blog post out of this, or vice versa. Like Fatima was saying, you might write something because you've got a clear vision, and then you might take tips and snippets and share it. So I think you can go in kind of both directions. But you're right, we're so used to kind of going through the documentation, maybe not thoroughly, but kind of jumping around, and so maybe that's why. But yeah, ideal world, have video and text, then people can choose. Right, because if I'm cooking, I put the video on, and I might not be looking at it all the time, but I'm listening, and later on I'll go back maybe to the written kind of form content.
Okay, so speaking of written form content, there's one of the things that we really wanted to talk with you on this show, and you've kind of alluded to it a few times, is this intersection of open source and AI, and I wanted to hear about sort of, what you're seeing as interesting and what you're seeing as maybe concerns, like both of those things.
Open source and AI, yes, it's such an interesting topic because so many people want to contribute to open source, and it can be challenging to get started on a project. I actually contributed to a big enterprise project last week. Got a video and blog post coming out next week, and I was looking through the code, and usually I search for things and I try it because it's a massive code base. Some languages are in there that I don't know, but I wanted to contribute to the languages that I do know. But I was just trying to find the area and how it all joined together, and being a bit, old-fashioned, I was like, I'm going to search for it. I'm going to kind of dig down the folders. Exactly. I've cloned the project. I'm trying to use IntelliSense to click through to this function and then search for it. Where is this function used?
Go to definition. Yeah.
Yes. In the end, kind of opened the GitLab Duo panel, and I just said, where is this? I want to make this change. Where is this happening? I didn't ask it to make the change, but I wanted to know where it was happening. And it said, maybe look at this file, and this file, and this file. And it was correct. And I was like, okay, I could have kind of saved myself a couple of hours. I did learn stuff while doing it.
Yeah.
I think the challenge is though when people maybe go too far and they try and get AI to do everything and they don't necessarily check it
Mm,
and by check it I mean two things. So I think there's two types of checking. One is in your merge request, do the changes look good?
right.
But also, have they tested that it works and like run locally? Because it might look good, but it might not actually work.
Right.
So yeah, I
I
think it's
usually run into
important.
the latter there where I think the code looks really good and then I run and build it and it doesn't work. And so I'm always a little surprised, but I think you're right. I think there's this psychology behind if the thing is doing it for me, especially when you're working with agentic tools, you're kind of just like, keep going, thanks. Like I'll go do something else, like you do that. I'll just go focus on like some other part of the process. But it may be retraining yourself, like you said, like trying to hunt for it a little bit and then getting an assist and like adjusting our processes to account for that.
This
I
is
love
so
that, as you
true.
said, an assist. Oh, sorry, Salmon.
Yeah. No, I was gonna say this is so true because we have this tendency once we get something convenient, we can't go back. I feel
It's
like
true.
Yeah.
we're getting a taste of that, right?
Once
Where
it goes down, you're like, what am I supposed to do with my life?
Yep.
Like,
You'll type GitLab Duo, fix all issues assigned to me, and just like go and do it. But you're right. It's finding that balance, I think, is the important part, and it takes practice.
it really does. Yeah.
I do want to segue a bit because I'm the security guy, and I'm gonna.
You're gonna
come
hear
at
this
you
a
with
lot, chat.
security questions. Yeah, I apologize in advance. I'm always gonna steer it to security, but
Ask all your security questions today.
To
Sorry, go
Salmon,
ahead.
just to clarify to who those questions
Yeah,
are
just say
directed at.
Salman Lajha.
oh
I have
dear.
security questions. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm not very active on social, so email is the best bet. Just kind of sad. But talking about AI generated code and security, Eddie, I'm curious to hear from your perspective. Like, what are your thoughts on using AI generated code in open source projects? Like, what are some of the security concerns developers should be aware of?
A lot, and this is where I'm kind of a bit out of my depth, and I'm still learning. This is something that I need to learn. So actually, I want to I haven't got a tennis ball. I did have a tennis ball here. I want to throw it over to you. We should have planned that beforehand, actually, and I could have thrown a tennis ball, and you could have had one next to you and caught it. But what do you think? So you said you weren't a developer, so I'm a developer, and sometimes we try to run before we can walk. And so I'm kind of interested to know what you think as a security expert. Like, what should we do?
Is this for real? Are you actually flipping it on me?
I am.
I don't
I
know.
need a table flipping sound.
This was not what we
You
discussed.
need a soundboard for this.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, someone on the script cannot help you here.
What was the question? The question was open source AI and security, right?
You like blanked. Yeah. Like what do you think, Saman? Like what do we still need developers to get about security when they're using AI?
While you're thinking, I can jump in if you want for a moment. I just thought of something. If you need a minute, I'll lend you a helping hand if you want.
I have some
I'll
thoughts.
be your
They're
AI.
loose thoughts. Maybe your answer will help me get succinct.
Okay. So my thinking was when we review, and I'm going to be general now, and I'll get specific in a second. When we review a merge request, if it's 3 lines, there's going to be lots of comments. Like people are going to kind of really review it, and if it's 500 lines, everyone just says looks good to me, right? And you just think if in 3 lines we talk so much about the changes, how come in 500 lines everything looks fine? And I think that the danger with AI generated code is it can do quite a lot faster than we can, and so the danger is if the changes are quite substantial in terms of there's lots of lines, we're more likely to miss something. So I think that's the danger we're in, and I think we need to still keep the changes small. Like the smaller the merge request, the better review we'll have, the better knowledge transfer we'll have to the rest of the team, and so forth. So I think we've got to be careful not to have many changes generated by AI, which is so easily done. Right. I think so. Yeah, that's my initial thoughts. But I'd love to hear what you think.
You bought me some time. Here, I'll try to be succinct here because you're the guest, you're the expert. I don't want to take up too much of the airwaves.
Okay, security bro.
Fatima. I have three things that I would say on this topic. So the first kind of builds off of what you said, and it takes a security concept and applies it to the world of development, which is, I think the zero trust mindset is that much more important in the world of AI generated code. What I mean by that is there's a lot of reports that these LLMs aren't trained on publicly available data sets, publicly available code bases, which means they may be exposing vulnerabilities in your workflows. So as a developer, I think it's that much more incumbent on you, if you are using these tools for code generation, you need to pause and review what it's producing, right? Really think about it. Like, it might even be a new skill that developers need to lean into, right? Where you're now reviewing AI generated code with that security lens. It could open up a new possibility. On that, I think there's a second angle to this, which is we want to encourage the use of these tools, but we want to do it so in a secure manner. And so prompt engineering becomes that much more important. How can you prompt the tool to adhere to either your businesses or, globally accepted secure coding standards?
But in order to do that, you have to understand what those standards are.
You have to understand it. Exactly, right? So there's still an element of security training. So, rather than just asking the tool to create a login form, you might say, create a login form with proper input validation and hashing. Only reason I know that is because of my days at Auth0. And the last one, I know I'm going on for a while here, but all of this just means we have to encourage earlier scanning that much more, right? We're generating a ton of code. Run your SAS scans, run your SCAs, run your secret detection, because it just becomes that much more important.
Especially if you're still looking for that balance, right? Like, especially if you're like just pushing all this new code in and you don't quite know how to work with AI yet. And so I hear what you're saying. More training, scanning early, understanding security in order to prompt for it, and zero trust mindset.
Eddie, that's mischievous. You really flipped it on me there.
He really did, yeah.
I can't take credit for that. Fatima gave me the idea before the live stream.
I did give Eddie permission to flip certain things back on us throughout the show. So look forward to #flip the script. Eddie, before we move on to the next segment, like anything you're working on in the next few months that you want to share with your audience? Because I'm sure some of your fan club is with us today.
I see so many people in the chat, and I really, really appreciate you all coming to join and support. I've got quite a few things going on. I'm not going to call out any in particular just yet. I would just say I will be sharing them on Twitter mostly, and probably LinkedIn. So let's geek out and collaborate on open source and AI. And there's just so much tech I want to play with out there, and seeing the latest features that GitLab are doing as well. I can't wait to play with those as well. So I think there's a lot of exciting things happening at the moment. So I can't wait. And like you said, the community are so supportive here and also on other platforms as well. And it's great that we all learn from each other, so we can kind of learn a lot faster.
I love that. So we will hear from Salman on security very soon. Whenever Salman is here, we're going to talk security. But we thought we'd, like Eddie was saying, like talk about something that people are learning and wanting to hear about and wanting to kind of nerd out about together. So this next segment is called Fork This, because what we would love is we get this conversation started and you fork it and continue the conversation and share what you're thinking about and how you're learning. And so, Salman, do you want to kick off our topic?
I am so excited about this topic because it's a hot one in the industry right now. MCP, right? We have been hearing a lot about it lately, Model Context Protocol. And as I mentioned, I'm not the developer. So I'm still trying to figure out what's real.
He's the security person.
I'm the security person, right? Of course, there's going to be a security lens on this, but I'm trying to figure out what's real and what's hype. Fatima, help me out.
I thought you did a lot of research on the weekend. I remember, so someone texted me on Friday. Was it Friday? And was like,
stop exposing me.
Okay, in my defense, yesterday while I was cooking, I think I listened to 3 hours of YouTube content on MCP because I had this panic where I was like, do I actually know what this thing is?
The rabbit hole runs real deep, and that's really where you can get lost in the weeds, which is why it's like, what really is hype and what isn't hype?
Yeah. So the way that I think about MCP is it's a way for agents to share context with each other, and feel free to jump in, and we can like talk through this definition together. And so we've all sort of worked with AI, right? And so Eddie might be more familiar with building, because I know that you've built systems that have AI in them. And so like you have all these different kinds of LLMs that are trained on different feature sets. Like the other day I was building like a cat dog classifier. And so like you might have that, you might have something that's doing like semantic search, right? And you're like trying to understand sentiment in sentences. And so MCP is what helps these two different, completely different kinds of agents like talk to each other and explain like, hey, like here's how I work. I'm a classifier. This is the kind of data that I expect coming in as an input. This is what I give you as an output. And then like, here's how to negotiate me with other agents. And so what the protocol does is sort of helps negotiate different compatibilities among agents. And why it's cool is what we're going to talk about a little bit. but first, does that definition make sense?
It does to me, and just to summarize, it sounds like it's this connector. Would that be a fair, reductive description of it? It's a connector between
Yeah,
AI agents.
absolutely. It's a connector. And you know, those of us in development, like we're familiar with things like this, but like there's a reason why this is revolutionary. It's because one of the reasons why this is really exciting is because normally when you have that, you would have to like build ways for agents to connect, and you would have to build them specifically for different types of agents. And so having like this universal sort of protocol helps these agents seamlessly work together, and also like what's the word for like speeds things up for the ecosystem at large.
I actually looked into one because
Yeah.
yesterday when we were chatting, you mentioned Postgres has one, and I was looking into that, and I was using the ORM, and the ORM has one as well. And it's interesting that you can even get to create mock data, and I thought that was brilliant, because you don't always want the same. I don't know, say if you've got, I don't know, a user, for example, and say the fake user is, everyone uses John Smith. They're quite short, but then if you've got a name like mine, which is like a lot longer, you don't notice it in your UI that you might break out. So what I really liked about it, and I can't wait to play with it in the next couple of days, is that when it creates data, it's going to create different varying sizes of names and addresses and whatever it is. So therefore you can actually kind of see how it performs, and each time you do it, it might actually be it might work and then it might not work. And I like that idea of saying, can you create 100 users, and then you can kind of actually
It's a
see
real test.
Yeah, rather than saying user 1, user 2, user 3. I mean, that's what my data looks like. So for me, that mock data is just it's going to be brilliant. I can just do it in the chat, which I just think is excellent. So I'm super excited about that.
And one of the things I thought was really cool as someone who's like very early in building LLMs and like testing things is that you don't need shared training data. So similar to what you're talking about, like you can have two agents in your project and they don't have to have the same data set. And so you could build data sets that are specific to those agents to help them train to be better. And MCP just lets you use both of them in the project. And so that to me was like no more hardwiring, which is a thing that we do a lot with technology.
So build once and connect many.
Yes.
This to me sounds like it's going to enable devs to just build AI native applications so much more effectively. And, you know, for people who are consuming the tech, it just unlocks so much value. Like I can see automation, something as simple as connecting it with my email and having it perform a specific action for me with the right consent.
Yeah, absolutely. And connecting with your email is something that you can do with, and we may have talked about this, but the hype for MCP came around with MCP servers, which are sort of the brokers that allow MCP to connect your agents. And so you could connect your email to a local MCP server that then helps mediate some of that communication. So instead of just talking one way to a chat LLM, like, here's my email, can you write a response, where you kind of have to take your email to the LLM that you're communicating with, you can now connect it to your email and have it, know what the context of, which is scary in its own way, but like have it know what the context is and then help you respond to those things.
You know exactly where my head's going with this next
Yeah.
one. Yeah, as soon
Someone's
as you
here,
said it,
so security's here.
like let's take pause and talk about that, right? It
Yeah.
can read my files, my data, if is what you're saying.
Yeah, and I think the way to think about it is that in demos that I've seen, and I have not set up an MCP, so maybe that's something we do on a future episode, is that the agent declares, like it's very explicit. It's like, I need access to this, this, this. This is the kind of data that I need, and here is how I'm going to use it. And then, do I have your permission? So a lot of times it's like, can I go and access this now? And then you're like, yes. And then it's like, do 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 do. Can I also get access to this? And then again, do 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 do. So you get an opportunity to sort of control the access to what you're offering.
Gotcha. So there is a structured permission flow. There's proper auth in and auth z built in, and I'm assuming it's logged and auditable. You laugh, but these are pertinent questions, especially when it comes to security, right? Like,
Yes.
this is like the age-old.
The answer to everything is yes.
Please, this is like the age-old security and dev debate all over again, right? Like, I feel like devs are so excited about MCP, cutting-edge technology, which is great. But then from the security perspective, I see the attack surface area widening. I can see, okay, we need to think about prompt injection attacks. We need to think about secrets because they're going to be stored somewhere. We need to think about broader supply chain compromise. So I love this. I love the fact that we are thinking about security and, a structured permission flow. In the forums that I've been on, it still feels like the threat model is still young and we're developing it, right? I know
and I think with all new tech, like the threat model evolves as more people start to pick up the technology. So as of right now, it's very explicit and you have a lot of control over the rules on your system. You have a lot of controls over how agentic you want it to be. And, some people might end up realizing that they've given it too many permissions and have to scale that back a little. And so it's good to remind folks about, what you're giving it access to. But with all new technology, I feel like it's a test, learn from mistakes, and then revise the prompt, right? Like,
I think developers always want to get something working and then improve it later. So when they create, I don't know, if we're doing, for example, like I need a GitLab token, for example, something, it's like, well, I need this permission. You just tick it, it doesn't work. And you go, why doesn't it work? Let me just give it all the permissions. And expire when? I'll do it manually later. It never expire. And then you do it. Yeah. And then you do it, and then it's like, it works, brilliant. But did they go back to untick the ones they didn't know? And I think, this is where, the AI can help us as well to say, look, you're doing this in your code, and you've given it this because it's got more context, like you said, right? It knows the issue or the milestone, and it says, you do realize you're giving it this permission. It doesn't need that much, and I think that is important because I might have done that before, but don't tell anyone. We're friends.
You and I
here,
are both about to get enrolled in some kind of security training. Watch out.
Yeah, well, keep your inboxes, keep your eyes on your inboxes. I appreciate you giving security its moment in the light because it's an important topic, especially when we think about MCP. Before we move on to the next segment, Fatima, Eddie, are there any resources that you want to share with the developer community where they can read up more on MCP?
So I'm a big fan of the Latent Space podcast. It's latent.space. And they did an episode with the creators of MCP who really talked about like why we built this, why now was the time to build this, and sort of what we're thinking about as we go forward. And so if you really want to get into the crunchy details, I would read the paper and then I would also listen to that podcast episode.
And of course, Eddie's Substack.
Well, it's not security focused. I look at OWASP's content and seeing what they're doing. Again, it's something that I think all developers, or most developers, need to improve on. Security, performance, accessibility. Unfortunately, we've got so much to learn as developers that we can't do it all, and that's why we have the experts in security, in accessibility, in performance. But we do need to be aware of it and have an appreciation for it. And again, this is where I think automation and AI can really help us, especially with the MCP, agents. Yeah, a mouthful.
Sorry.
Don't make me laugh. That's not a clip to cut if anyone wants to cut anything. That's something to forget. Cut out.
On that mic drop note.
Okay, bye.
Let's segue because I feel like this was a pretty heavy chat. I do want to transition to something a little more lighthearted and fun, we have prepared a developer rapid fire round for this next segment, and we're going to bring Matt back in. Matt, I see you there.
Hey, Matt.
Hey, what's going on, y'all? And hey, I appreciate you bringing me in for the developer rapid fire, being that I'm not a developer. So it's episode 1. I've already made a liar out of the title of the show and the segment. So
I love that. Well,
You'll get your developer certificate after this round.
this is all it takes.
is there a wait list for this? Can I get one too?
Yeah, you get the security-focused developer certificate.
I love it. Well, thanks for joining us again, Matt. Here's how this next section is going to work. I'll give you the high-level instructions. I'm going to give you a question, and you'll have about 10 seconds to answer the question. You can defend your response very briefly, not too long, because we are on a time clock here. For our audience, feel free to drop your answers in the chat. We, of course, want to keep this engaging, and we want to see what you have to say also. Questions about the rules?
No,
Good.
I got this.
Love it. So, Fatima, you're up first. You ready?
Okay, yeah.
What is a technology you pretend to understand but Google every time?
Regex expressions, because I can never understand that. I really love the tools where you can like put the expression in and then put the things you're trying to regex, and then it like shows you and highlights, and you're like, wow, I don't know anything.
The only reason I know regex is because of our secret detection solution.
Security.
Knowledge. Yes, gotta bring it in. And you're up next. What is the strangest or most interesting thing in your development environment right now?
I don't want to flip this back, and I've only got 10 seconds, but are you talking like a digital thing on my computer or a physical thing in my environment, just to clarify?
Take it whichever way. I think we want to go with your digital environment, though.
With my what, sorry?
Your digital environment.
Oh, damn, I had a really good answer for the other one. Okay, digital environment.
Do the other one.
Yeah.
I have got a screen arm next to me to mount my monitor on it. But I haven't done that, and it's been like 2 years, and my screen is just on my desk, and I can just see every time I use my screen, I see that arm, and I'm like, I should really just mount it, and it would like make my desk a lot better. So this was what my desk used to be like. And then we've got a section on talking about streaming and tech. This
Are
is
you
what my
landing planes? Like
this is what everyone says. This was overkill. Everyone, do not do this. I got carried away, and the more tech you have, the more things that go wrong. But that's more than 10 seconds, so we'll talk about it later on.
Seems like a real vibe coding setup.
It does. It's a vibe.
Matt, you're up next. What futuristic tech from sci-fi do you secretly wish was real?
Ooh, this one I got to go. Matrix brain downloading technology. I want to be able to push a button and know how to like sew, weld, cook a beef Wellington, like fly a helicopter. Like that's all I need in life, man. Those 4 things.
Deep cut, love it. Totally gonna steal it.
I think we can just wrap it up right there.
That was yeah. Fatima, back over to you. What's the most underrated programming language?
Perl. I'm not gonna explain it.
No
Hit me up in the comments.
Keep moving. Eddie, a developer or a tech influencer you want to give a shout out to?
Oh, there's so many, but the one comes to mind is Amanda. Amanda's Twitter handle is hey_Amanda. Always helps me out on live streams and on lots of hard stuff that I can't do. And Amanda goes and figures it out and does it. And the community helps her as well. Like Dan from the community helps her. But Amanda just gets it done, and it's just awesome. So yes, big shout out to Amanda.
Thank you for embodying what it means to be part of the developer community. You're a real one. Matt, we're going to round things up with you. Which old school piece of tech do you still love or miss?
This is one that hits hard. Living in Austin with the music scene, I really miss old paper concert tickets. Like the digital phone tickets are great, except like I was a hippie kid. I used to follow Fish around the country during the summers, and I had like
Fish?
the album.
Did you say Fish?
The band Fish.
They're I thought you meant
everyone, but yeah.
I was like, Matt's a whale watcher. Sorry, continue.
No, you're great, but yeah, I want old school paper tickets for concerts.
I liked those because you could like put them in a scrapbook.
Yeah,
you know?
free memory, so you don't need to pay $40 for a T-shirt.
I mean, the stark contrast between having Matrix style downloads.
It's interesting.
To having physical tickets.
I'm well rounded, man.
And he's like, I like my T-shirts.
I like my T-shirts and hoodie. I would be wearing this now, but it got a bit hot in here, so I took it off before we started.
I love it. Well, team, thanks so much for participating in this fun, lighthearted session. From matrix-style downloads to Perl as the programming language of choice, to a special shout out to Amanda. This was really fun, and I'm looking forward to future segments like this.
I'm sweating. I get so competitive.
This is a friendly one, though.
I think we should do a game show. Like, idea for another show. We'll come back to it. Sorry, tangent.
All right, Fatima, what do you say we move on to the next segment and talk about
Absolutely.
our feature segment on GitLab?
Drum roll. I want to bang on the table because I don't know if you'll hear it.
Probably not, but this was a really great day because today was the launch day event for GitLab 18, the culmination of months and months of hard work. Many of you in our community know here at GitLab, we ship software every single month. And this was a reflection and look forward on all the value that we've delivered, looking at AI across the SDLC, showcasing our capabilities of agentic AI workflows, and of course, security.
Yeah, so we had so many really cool guests. We talked about everything that we've worked on in the past year. I also got to be on the show, which was really cool. I have this behind the scenes photo that I'll share with you at the end of this segment as like a little like, don't share this with anyone, but also this is going live.
I mean, and before we even get into the details of GitLab 18, I have to break script. Fatima,
Okay.
you deserve your moment in the spotlight. You deserve your flowers. Having worked on GitLab 18 and seeing, things behind the scenes, it was amazing how you stepped up and owned the section on AI. It was incredible. You crushed it. Everyone in the community who follows you, I'm sure you can relate to this. Fatima, you're just such a star, and a huge kudos to you. You absolutely crushed it.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate
You're
that.
actually blushing. I can see it. Oh my God.
This was me
there
behind
it
the
is.
scenes.
There it
I've
is.
never done anything
Wow.
like it. They had like a makeup artist touching up my makeup in between cuts. There was like a producer, like, oh goodness, it was something else. It was really amazing. And I'm really fortunate that I got the opportunity to do it. So yeah. Thank you. Thank you for the
Now that you've
kudos.
gotten your kudos, let's talk about some of the stuff that we delivered.
Yes. So one of the things we recently launched, switching back into work mode, is GitLab Duo with Premium. So our Premium and Ultimate tiers now include some of our AI native features so that you can use Duo Chat and Duo Code suggestions in your IDE throughout your project process, so throughout your building software. And Saman, as always,
Oh, do I get to talk about security?
is
We have delivered a ton of value in the world of security and compliance, all focused on making security a built-in part of how developers work day to day, as opposed to it being a bottleneck at the end of the development lifecycle. There's a ton of value that we can dive into. I'd encourage you to check out the recording, or for those of you who just came back from it. One of the things that I loved was this capability that we delivered called secret push protection, which reduces the risk of credential-based breaches, because we know threat actors love credentials. What we're actually doing is preventing developers from unintentionally pushing those secrets to repos. Simple way of minimizing the overall risk of the organization. I'll stop with secret push protection because I'm sure I could just go on and on and on with reachability analysis and custom frameworks and just customizable detection logic. But we'll save that for another day.
So you'll see a bunch of demos on the show, and I don't want to spoil the details. We had GitLab Duo with Amazon Q, which helps you do code reviews and merge requests. We launched the Duo agent platform. Eddie popped the description of that into the chat. Will help you sort of work with multiple agents throughout, and is currently in beta with our customers. And so one of the things that you saw showcased at the show this morning was, drum roll. Ooh, that was a good drum roll. Was GLQL. And so we brought on Matt here, who is an expert in using GLQL to show us how it's done.
Yeah, no, I appreciate Fatima. Expert, I don't know, but I'm trying my best. And
Imposter syndrome across the board.
that's how we roll.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I think starting off like kind of at the top, like GLQL is a query language that allows you to surface up work items using a syntax that many of us are already familiar with. We originally built it largely because we recognized that there were job performers within GitLab, such as, say, technical leads, progress reporters, and their stakeholders. And they were running into challenges consolidating statuses for multiple items into one place and then summarizing those for an appropriate audience. And GLQL allows you to actually do exactly that. So like GitLab has this huge breadth of functionality across the SDLC. It's that platform approach that we all know and love, right? But I think GLQL is a really, really good example about how we're looking to go a bit deeper with elements of our feature set so that people can do things like plan and collaborate more robustly than they could before.
That's awesome. Can we see it in action?
Yeah,
Sorry, I'm
we
a
can.
developer. I like to see those live demos.
No, of course. So let me
And
go
it's always
ahead.
really cool to have someone, while you're pulling that up, I'll chit chat with our audience. But one of the reasons why it was really cool to have Matt on the show was when we were sort of talking about things we could bring up, and Matt was showing me like, and we won't be able to show you this, but like actual customers that he uses GLQL for. I was like really excited because it's always really cool to see like tools being used in the real world, as opposed to sometimes you do demos and, the data is fake and the merge requests are, generated. But so this is really cool. This is something that he uses every day. So I'll let Matt take it away.
Yeah, and I think the really cool thing about GLQL is because it uses like that field operator value syntax, like you can do a whole lot of really cool stuff with it. And like if you compare that with a robust labeling standard that you've got rolled out across your organization, then you have one of those like 2 + 2 = 5 kind of situations. Now again, like I am not a developer, and so while I think that this feature is going to be really useful for developers, the examples that I'm giving about use cases are largely how like we use it within our CS organization as a business team. So let's see, like for my individual work, I will go ahead and well, for our
Could you close? Yeah, there you go.
nice
Close
one
the
step ahead
sidebar.
with that
Perfect.
one. So for my
Thank you.
individual work, I'll track a lot of my issues that I'm working on for like to go over during one-on-ones with my manager. As a CS org, we actually built out GLQL trackers to keep pace with all of the OKRs that we're working on. So our VP shared patching, she's able to see what the status of those are. She's able to see which items may need some some support from leadership to help remove blockers, things like that. But for my customers, I most commonly use them to track feature requests that we're working on. Now, here I've got our Tanuki Telco demo group here, and I'm actually going to bring back my sidebar for a hot second because I'm going into our wiki. Now, the cool thing about GLQL is you can put those queries in all sorts of different places. You can put them in epics, you can put them in issues, you can put them in merge requests, comments, tasks, all sorts of different places. But since I'm making a feature request tracker, I am really, I feel really strongly that that is something that's like a shared source of truth. And so that belongs in the wiki. So here I've got a wiki that is set up. This is pretty typical of what you'd see for one of
Can
my
you zoom in just a
customer-facing.
little bit? Like
Yeah,
maybe like a plus plus. Yeah, thank you. My eyes are not what they used to be.
so this is like a what you'd see for a typical customer-facing collaboration project. Down along
Cool.
the side here, you've got our running meeting notes. We've got a resource library of documents for any features that we've spoken about with customers. And here we have feature request trackers. I usually build them out for things like high priority feature requests. These are kind of like the business critical items that they're looking for from GitLab. We have things like, custom role feature requests. If there's any feature requests that are related to an initiative, like making custom roles more robust, we have those available to track. Also, we have things like general feature requests. These are a lot of the feature requests that are like low priority quality of life kind of things. And when you look at these tables, you're able to get all of that kind of at-a-glance information that you would want to see, the assignee, when they were last updated, the milestone, epic, all sorts of good stuff.
And you can kind of sort and edit and take these columns out if some aren't useful to you.
You can do better than kind of sort. You can actually sort. So, I mean, just clicking on those columns, you can make sure that, like, if I'm tracking items for a customer and we have like an every other week cadence call, you know, I can make sure that I'm only bringing up information to them that is updated since we last spoke. So it's always got relevant information.
Is there a way to debug any of these queries? Like if you're new to it?
Yeah, we can actually get to it. Let me show you how we actually build one of
code.
Show me the code. Well, yeah, well, code. It's in a code block.
You guys are killing me. So,
sorry, Matt.
No, you're the best. Don't ever change, Fatima. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to just show y'all how to build out a query, and we'll throw some errors in there. We can troubleshoot it. It'll be all good.
Bonus, we get to create a wiki page too.
I love it. I'm a big fan of the wiki. So for the title, I've been playing a ton of KDC2 lately. So let's call this Project Henry. And we are going to start off the query with opening that code block. We're going to define the language for GLQL.
And Matt, if you can zoom in manually, like with your yeah, perfect. Thank you.
And now that we have the language defined, we're going to have it display a table.
Yeah, we did see a table earlier. And then we did see some of these different fields that we were talking about sorting.
Yeah, and for this particular one, I want to include the title of the issue, the state of the issue, whether it's open or closed, when it was last updated, the labels, and the assignee. Now, we've basically defined like what we want to display, and now we want to designate like what source that's from. For feature requests, these are all in our public-facing GitLab project, so we're going to call out that.
And those are the project names. Okay.
That's correct. Let's see if I can type live here.
Org. Yeah, no, nobody can type live.
It's like when someone asks you what time it is when you're wearing an
I can't even type my own name when people are watching me live.
So we've got the project defined. We're going to be looking for issues here. Oh, I'm sorry. The type equals issue.
This is my bad. Like Matt was like, I can prepare like snippets. I can just copy paste in. And I'm like, it's way more fun to build a query and live show. And now I'm like, I don't know. I kind of put you in a tough spot.
No, you're great. But hey, you know,
and then all the issue IDs.
And paste
yeah, I too would copy the issue IDs.
Because y'all don't need to watch me type all those. So we're going to create the page. And here you've got that list built out. Cool. Generates 36 different images, or 36 different issues, rather.
I already know what someone's going to ask.
I'm going to bite my tongue. I don't want to be that predictable.
Okay.
This is honestly incredible.
Yeah.
Well, really cool things. I mean, this is just a real basic query, but you can add additional kind of like modifiers into that query to drill down into certain labels, certain statuses, certain assignees. So you can really work to get that as drilled down as you need. Do we have time to go through a quick debugging?
I think you should show like the filtering by labels, and then we can move on.
Okay, cool. So
sorry, audience. We ended up talking more than we thought we would, and so we want to make sure we end on time.
So let's say, I mean, we all love Salman. So let's
do it. Let's do the thing that Salman's not saying, which is, I'll ask. I volunteer. Right. Can you filter these by the section security label?
This is my favorite group.
We certainly can.
Security positive.
So essentially what we are going to do, we're going to edit this query and just add in and label equals, we're going to put in that scoped label, section security, save those changes. And then that list of 38, I think it was, drills down to 19, and every single issue that's surfaced has that section security label applied to it.
Woohoo!
So
Nice.
really cool stuff there, y'all.
I need an applause sound effect. I'm not very good at it.
Awesome. I mean, well, thank you for indulging the security side. I do appreciate it, Matt. You didn't have
And
to.
thank you for doing a live demo. Those are not easy. And I think GLQL, honestly, one of the most underrated features in GitLab is GLQL. And I hope that people are inspired by that and get a chance to try it out. Because it's quite easy to just pull out all of the issues that you're working on and then filter them in a certain way. And, you know, those stakeholders are always asking for updates. And so why not just give them a link to a wiki page with all the features on it that they can sort themselves? So.
Yeah,
I love
it's great
that.
to be able to just figure out like which ones have been updated, so we don't need to check into every single issue one by one to see if there's been an update. It's the cat's pajamas.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Matt. We are moving into another really cool segment. Salman, do you want to tell the audience about it?
It's another
Sorry, I keep
fun
stealing.
one.
I keep stealing your tease up.
This is great. I feel like I'm getting all the fun segments, right?
You are.
They're all,
It's
they're
because
all
you're
fun
fun.
segments, right? Well, for this one, we asked our community for the commit messages that never saw the light of day this week. And boy, oh boy, did our community deliver. We got some of them on the screen here. Fatima, do you want to
I
do
need
the
to
honors
like
here?
zoom in. Yes. So here's one. There's like the please work quote on the left side there from Jennifer Spicer. That happens to me all the time. It's because I like don't close the commit quote. And so then I'm just like enter. And then I just like squash it and fix it. Oh, here's a good one. I'm gonna throw hands with Catalyst if this does not build. We have one from Eddie.
I see one from Eddie, yeah.
Eddie, do you want to tell us about this work in progress? 1, 2, 3.
I thought this was going to be kept private. I didn't realize we were actually going to talk about it publicly. Yeah, you know, yeah, I don't want to share. Actually, it's a little bit embarrassing. Is this something that I wanted to show people what not to do?
True. These are
Don't
commits
do
that
this.
never saw the light of day because clearly you rewrote them or fixed them or edited them. I did love Philip
Exactly.
Price's For Phil on Monday. At first, when I read it and I didn't read the submitter's name, I was like, wait, is that like your boss? And then I was like, oh, that's you. you prepped that for yourself. So.
I love that too.
Yeah, these are all great. This was tested in production and it worked. Maybe it doesn't work in staging, not my problem. I feel like that one would get me in trouble. Yeah. If the world was perfect, it wouldn't be. So here's another imperfect attempt at perfection. That's a little too poetic for
Yeah.
Ooh.
Was that written by AI? Maybe
I wouldn't
AI,
be surprised.
AI assisted.
That's
AI assisted commit message, and then push to production skip CI was obviously a copy paste.
Amazing.
But yeah, this was so great. Thank you so much for your submissions. We're going to try to do one of these sort of submit your answers to something for every show because this really is about us hanging out with you. And so thank you for submitting those. And hopefully you'll keep that going for every month.
And now we're going to do another fun demo. This is
it time? Oh,
it's time, Fatima. It's time.
I'm not ready.
Whew. Okay, I'm gonna take a deep breath. The problem with this is that every time I try to share my screen, it's right behind where the camera is. So let me just make sure I'm sharing the right screen.
Just to catch the audience up, this is the moment of truth. This is where Fatima is going to live demo Duo Agentic Chat, one of our newest experimental tools. It's a really exciting capability that we've delivered. And Fatima, oh my, it's okay. You got this. Breathe.
Ooh, breathe. Deep breath. All right. So Duo Agentic Chat, and what you're seeing on the screen right now is just an empty note file, is our tool that basically transforms like conversing with an LLM. So instead of like asking questions about how to build a project, you get to work with it agentic. So here's what I want to build it for me with this kind of implementation. And it goes and reads the existing files and takes feedback and starts building things for you. It can take multi-step actions. It can write code, create merge requests, update some documentation. For this demo, I thought that we would go easy mode, mostly for myself because I don't really know if I can get through a live demo without sweating. And I thought that we would scaffold a whole new project together. So a little bit of vibe coding.
You're
And
a vibe coding expert, aren't you?
that's what they say.
What's your vibe coding vibe? Bollywood music?
Yeah, probably. It gives you the most confidence. I really like electronic music, but that's a whole other rabbit hole. I consider myself good at vibe coding, but I will say, I always say that. And then if you check in on me like 2 hours in, I have been spinning on circles on a specific thing. And maybe if I used, like 0.00000%, 1% more of my brain, I could have solved it instead of using up all my credits. And so vibe coding is a vibe. And so I think what would be cool for us to do is I'm going to tell you what I want to build, and then we'll engineer a prompt together, and then we'll pop that prompt into Duo Agentic Chat, which is open here, and thankfully cleared out, so you don't see what I was testing last night. And so here's what I want to build. I want to build a web app that displays the nearest parks on a map and then allows me to filter based on specific park features. There's a data San Francisco Parks and Recreation data set that I want to use. And so my questions for the chat and for my panelists are like, what are some things to think about when you're prompt engineering? Like what sort of specific things do you mention, like tech stack, features deployment, and like what things do you detail versus leave open-ended? And so let's like chat through the prompt and I'll start typing. And hopefully I remember how to type as we do this.
Eddie, this is your domain.
Okay. Yes, this is not security, so I'm good. One of the things that comes to mind is versions, because I always find this catches me out, as in it mixes versions sometimes, or I want to use a new version or a previous version or something, and it's using a different one. So I always feel being specific, use the latest or use version for Next.js, for example, like 19 or whatever it is. So I find that's important. Just to make sure you're using the right version, because it helps with security, right? We don't want to mix deprecated function calls or anything like that.
I feel like you've changed over the course of this live stream. I love it.
That's awesome. That's good to hear. Always learning.
Wait, I should make this bigger so you can see what I'm typing. There we go. Okay, so use Vue.js latest version. Oh, here, why don't we do use Vue.js plus Vite latest version? And I will admit to the audience that I don't use Vue.js all that much, so we will see if this works for us.
Love that. Real live.
Live. Sorry, my editor is really strict on ending spaces. Okay, and so another thing we want is the map. So how can we prompt asking it to put together a map? So I guess it would be something like render a map using, what should we use? I've used Leaflet.
This is the thing that you were saying before, like how specific do we want to be? Mm-hmm. I think sometimes if there's something I want to use like Vue, then you specify it. But then if I don't graphs, I don't mind sometimes. I want to see a different maybe library. So I just say create some graphs. So I suppose if you really want Leaflet, or if you want anything.
Let's do Leaflet, because that's the only one I know how to debug. So let's use Leaflet and place the pins of the parks like on the map, just in case. Sometimes I'll see what happens with AI is if you don't tell it to add the pins, it'll just give you the map and then it'll connect the data. And then you're like, okay, thanks, but not quite, So the thing with like the detail and the open-endedness is like, there are things that the AI is really good at because it's been trained on. And so it's good to leave those things sort of open-ended, like rendering maps or setting up basic filters. And then there's things that the AI doesn't make the best decisions on, like you mentioned, like versioning, right? Where it will just pick what it's seen the most, whereas you want something specific. And so we'll specify the versions of things. One of the things I want is like include a search and filter for park name so that, I can like look for the parks in my area. And I want to deploy the GitLab pages because this is the developer show powered by GitLab.
That's a clip. It needs to be snipped out and reused. Brilliant.
And then I have a cheat code. Hang on. Where is it? It's here. So I tested this a few times, and I think there's like some like data that's bugging, right? Where every time I deploy to GitLab pages with Vite and Vue.js, I get the same bug where it wants to set like a base project name for like a domain name for a project, but that doesn't work on group instances because GitLab pages will generate like a string of numbers for you. And so I fully admit that I'm cheating by putting that in there, but I've tested multiple GitLab pages prompts and I know that it needs to know the specificity in order to not break. So that'll save us like 10 minutes of debugging.
You're allowed one cheat code. This is a live demo.
That's my one cheat code. Okay, so we'll ask it to scaffold the project, implement the features, and configure the deployment, which we've specified. Is there anything else I want to mention about the overall project? Build a web app that displays parks in the local area using the data SF open data. Did we say like specifically like in the local SF area? For people, why are you all so scared? Say something.
Like, I've never thought this deeply about like parks.
Okay, so like,
you know, that's the
okay. So it's
part.
okay. I was like, is it that you don't like vibe coding or is it that you don't like parks?
The cool thing about this is like it really forces you to deconstruct the logic, right, down to first principles, which is, you know, I'm making this observation in real time right now, and it's building a lot of empathy towards developers and what you have to do on a daily basis.
I think we should just give this a shot. What do you think? Everyone good? Give me a thumbs up.
2 thumbs up.
No, I don't know about 2 thumbs up. All right, I'm going to zoom out a little bit so that we can open up agentic chat a little wide for us. And then I am going to go for it. So this will take around 3 to 4 minutes. And I thought that while we wait for this to set up a project for us, and then we'll take a look at the code when it's done. You know, I'm not actually live coding. Duo's doing all the live coding. I now realize that I was nervous for nothing. Duo, don't let me down, okay? People are watching.
But that's the beauty of live streaming. And the amount of DMs I get of people watching my videos that maybe I've done like a 10-minute video and they say, Eddie, can you teach me how you managed to build that in 10 minutes? I'm like, I didn't build it in 10 minutes. I recorded like 2 hours and I gave you like the best 10 minutes. Like you don't see me getting stuck and debugging. And this is why I do love the authenticity of live streaming, because it shows us stutter and, you know, make mistakes and get stuck and so
it's
forth.
real.
So
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, you can see it's like reading and it's like, aha, it's a fresh GitLab project by design. There was one time I did a similar project. We were doing like a workshop where we were demoing agentic chat and I thought I was being sneaky. I was like, I tested it on the morning workshop and then I like committed deleting all the files to like fresh the project. And then I gave it the same prompt I had given it in the morning. And it was like, I see in your Git history that there was a project here already that was displaying things. So I'm going to go review that first. I was like,
wow.
so busted. Yeah, I was like, I forgot about the Git history, right? So for this demo, I did start a fresh project so that it wouldn't go digging in my history.
So Fatima, how much agency does the agentic AI actually have? So if we were to like iterate on this prompt and look at parks that had like lots of like parking available, or parks that allowed like e-bikes on trails, things like that, like are those the kind of things that you can just put in there and let the AI figure out how to code it, figure out where to source that information?
Yeah, so at GitLab, we have a number of different AI features throughout the software lifecycle. And so we have Duo Chat that'll answer questions. We have Duo Workflow, which is currently in private beta, that is more of a agentic planning tool. So you talk to it and it gives you an implementation plan and it asks if it can make those changes based on the plan. So you approve the plan as it goes and then you start approving its actions. Duo Agentic Chat, which launched in May and is still experimental, so not quite ready for production. We're still working on it, but we would love your feedback. Just goes and does it. And so what I really like about this one, it's what we were talking about earlier on the show, is where you're kind of hands-free, but you should pay attention to what's happening. And so in this case, once it's done with this version, we can go back and be like, hey, like actually the most important filter to me is filtering by whether or not there's parking available, and it'll go and add that filter for you. And so you can continue to iterate agentically on the chat.
I love it. Thank you.
Yeah, I love it too when it works.
Have you tried recording a video doing vibe coding? And the reason why I say that is because when I did it, I got a good surprise and a bad surprise. So
Ooh, okay,
I
tell
was
me the
using-
good one first.
So the good one was, so I thought, okay, I'm gonna use GitLab Duo, and I'm gonna build this spinning wheel, and a list of names. It's gonna pick one at random for a swag giveaway on a live stream. I was like,
That's a good one. Is
and
that open source?
It
Okay.
is, yes, and you visualize it what it
Yeah.
would look like, and usually when I code it, it never looks as good as I visualized it. But with GitLab Duo, it actually made it way better. I was like, well, that looks really good. I like that. I didn't think about like the look of it. It made it really good. So that was the good positive thing. The negative thing was it looked great. I was like, right, okay, let me do it again. And I'm going to hit record this time. And it came up with something completely different. Like, it wasn't bad. It was still good. But
Right.
what I was going to talk about was now in different places. And I was a bit like, oh, that's not over there. And I was going to ask it to do this, but it's already done that. And so I find
that happens to me a
recording videos
lot.
is
Yeah,
hard.
you have like a bunch of talking points where you're like,
Yes.
and then I'm gonna go edit and improve this function that it generated
Exactly.
for me, and then you go back and that function's not there anymore.
Yes, or it's already done it a different way, which you're like, oh, okay, that's actually pretty good. Can't talk about that, and you got to try and find something to talk about. So yes, it's a
It
bit.
looks like, yeah, we've got our package JSON, our Vite config, the HTML, the CI YAML. It's almost done. I think we're close. It's doing the deployment. And then, because I'm lazy, it's updating the README for me too. These
That's
READMEs, I've
epic.
got to say, like, I thought I was being really clever when I used like Duo to write all my READMEs for me, but then I noticed that one of my teammates does it too, because you can tell by the structure of the README, and it always adds like a contributing section, and like no one's contributing to my demos, right? Like, yeah, I thought I was like so cool, and then I saw that John was also generating READMEs, and I was like, twins. One of the things I think that AI is really good at is that sort of generating READMEs for the project, because it'll like study everything in it and then give you the README that makes sense.
I like the contributing section though. I know you say no one's contributing, but someone might, and it just it's complete. So I like that.
I mean, in an ideal world, like once this is up, I just share the link, but imposter syndrome. I might not. Let's see. What else did I want to talk about while we were on this topic of agentic? Like good prompts get you good results, like a lot of detail versus not. What else? There's something like people are really afraid of, and I think this is an interesting topic, that like AI is going to replace them, and maybe this is something Matt may not feel comfortable weighing in on as a not developer, but maybe you've heard from your customers, right? Like, I don't think so. I think you still need a considerable amount of dev knowledge, but I do think that AI is going to accelerate. That's the word I needed earlier that I couldn't remember. But education and people's ability to, we're done.
It worked.
People's ability to like learn things, and like learn faster and like make that education so accessible. Hopefully, in price as well, because I know it's a privilege to have multiple services. But yeah, that was a topic that I wanted to talk about, but we're done. Okay, so we've got the README with all of the information in it, including like how to run it locally. And then we've got on all of our files, let me clean this up for you. We've got a Vue.js, an app.vue. So we've got a map, and then we've got some styles because I am not a designer. And then the CI YAML, just like we asked. We have the deployment to GitLab pages. You know what? In the spirit of vibe coding, let's just vibe code it. Ooh, wait, I need to go to the dev show. Then I need to go to this project. Yes, this is correct. All right, I'm gonna commit everything, but I'm gonna remove the public folder because that is the npm build and it doesn't need that up there. And then I'm gonna push it. And then I'm gonna hope That. Oh,
I'm
I didn't
hoping that your
commit.
I'm hoping that your password isn't 123 or just password. Thinking of Salmon here.
Duo agentic chat output attempt 1. Speaking of commit messages that never see the light of day. No, this password is quite difficult to guess. It's in another language.
Perhaps someday we'll see a passkey there too. Who knows?
Ooh, I will have to work on that.
This was not planned, but I don't know if you can tell. I'm wearing my passkey shirt.
Nice.
Oh, what does the shirt say?
It says passkey warrior.
You really are.
I got it on World Password Day.
For some reason, my toolbar doesn't want to close, so just bear with it. Let's see if I can find the project now, because I didn't save that link to my... Yeah, of course not.
This is
So
a live demo.
It really is. I know that it's in the playground, but I think we'll... All right, we're going to do this manually. I'm pretty sure it's in my playground. Let's go. Here it is. Dun, 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 dun. Oh no, it failed. All right, let's take a look at why it failed.
Live debugging.
So the npm CI command can only install, I don't know, let's troubleshoot. We were talking about earlier where you're like really lazy. Oh, it's time for me to take a break after the long live stream. Okay, so 2 possible fixes. Oh, because there isn't a package.lock file. So let me go back and install the package.lock file. What did it say? So I'm gonna do, I think it's run build, right? Did anyone read that carefully?
Oh no, it'll be for the package lock file is npm install.
Yes. npm install to...
Yeah.
I did have to build it locally. Okay, well, we'll wait for that
create a
npm
lock
install.
File, and then you need to commit it
I need
as
to
well.
commit the log file, but I need to spell add correctly in order to commit the lock file. Need lock file for CI run. Oops, there it is. There's the quote.
But this, you can't get more real than this. Absolutely love this.
Shaking. There we go. I tried to add it to passphrase, but I have like some issue with my identity thing. Excuse me, where is my browser? Of course my computer is gonna misbehave today, like of all days. All right, let's hope that that is the magic fixed, because I would really like to show you this deployed and then go take a big nap. Oh, we got some great comments about the topic that we were talking about regarding whether devs will be replaced. Do we want to chat and maybe highlight Razvan's comment? I think that's a friend of yours, Eddie.
Yes, Razvan is a great content creator, and actually he came to visit me in Porto last week, so it was actually great to meet in person after all these years of geeking out online. And he's got some, really good experience, and these are the conversations that we have. So you're absolutely right that I think it's going to help us build faster AI, and our roles might change slightly, but I don't think we're going to be replaced personally. And I think Razvan agrees as well. So
yeah. I'm looking through the comments. Like Harbinder Singh has been with us since the first minute. Thank you for joining us for the whole live stream. Like that's a true fan. It looks like our build passed. So that was, thank you for the assist on that, because for a moment there, I forgot how to use NPM altogether.
Me too. I was suggesting suggestions, but I was a bit nervous. Like, am I right? Am I wrong? Like, I'm not sure.
Live streams are so stressful.
It's so much fun as well.
Who else have we got in here? Pratik is an old friend of mine who does front-end development. Hey. And we have a live deployment. So let's go see if it's working. We'll go to deploy pages. We'll get the URL. Cross our finger. Whoop. Okay, well, it's there. The search bar is there. I think what happened when we were doing the prompt is that we didn't quite specify the data. And this is something I ran into earlier as well, was that like when I was testing it on the weekend was like, if I told it like use the OpenSF data set and I didn't tell it like here's the format of what that data is going to look like so that it could have like a sample data set in the repository, it had a really hard time like figuring out what that data looks like. And so what I did last night that I think worked really well was I was like, here's the structure of the data. And because we're running out of time to show you, but what I can do is paste it in for you to take a look at what I mean by this. Where's in my prompt history? I definitely have the JSON file. I'm just gonna look for it. There we go. So here's what I did last time, and this is a fault of our prompt engineering, but I did like the data set structure that I'm expecting through this API. And so I went to the API, I took a look at what they were expecting to be used, and I gave it like these 2 examples and like what keys are available in that OpenSF data set. And so what happened then is that agentic chat was like, okay, I understand the type of data that is going to come in when you connect to this API route. And so it created like 6 or 7 of these samples. It put them in a data.json and used that to render the application. And so I think what was missing from our prompt was really this, but stay tuned. I'll update the prompt and I'll push the project, and then we'll drop a link in the comments. But I think this is all we have time for today. But let us know what you think. And I think we need to wrap up the show.
we should all give Fatima a round of applause, because doing that live is not easy.
Thank you, Duo Agentic Chat.
But that does bring us to the end of the show. This has been a great inaugural episode.
I know. We really I think 10 minutes in, we were like, this is great. And
A
then
lot
our
of fun.
producer was like, you're behind. Hurry up. And we were like, yeah, but we're chilling.
Fatima, you keep exposing people. This is hilarious.
Our producer, Jill, is amazing. Olivia does all of our
Olivia.
social media. That I could not be here without that team. Like, you see a lot of our content going out, like the Monday merge. Like, it's a team effort. Like, all of this gets put together with them. And so, yeah, shout out to Jill and Olivia.
We love them. We have the best social team in the business.
And a very special shout out to our guests, Eddie and Matt. Thank you so much for being on the show, willing to do this crazy new inaugural show with us, willing to do it unscripted and live. I know that was a little bit scary even for me. And I was like, it's going to be great, but I'm not sure. And so knowing you were there, honestly, I was like, okay, if I freeze and forget my own name, Eddie will be there. And Eddie does live streams. So thank you so much. Feel free to link or plug something in your outros.
Just thank you so much for having me. I was going to let others speak, but I left it for a silence, and I thought,
It's
be
totally
polite.
fine.
That was your cue.
That was my cue. Okay. Yeah, no, it was amazing, and it was really great to geek out with you all. And I was just as nervous as all of you. So it was actually quite interesting. I'm thinking, Fatima and, everyone, they're all so confident, and I'm really nervous, and maybe I'm the only one. So it's great to hear that. I love the authenticity of the live stream. I love the demo, and it was always great to geek out with you all. I mean, I love geeking out with the GitLab team. So hopefully we can do it again sometime. And I look forward to watching your next show in the audience. I'll be there in the chat, asking lots of questions. And yes, again, thank you so much. If anyone has any questions, after the live stream, we're all available on social. So do reach out and let us know. I prefer you ask. Yeah, I prefer you ask in the comments in public, because therefore you can get different perspectives and opinions, and other people who might be nervous to ask the question can kind of see the same question, because I bet you there are people thinking the same thing that you are. So ask the questions in public, and it will help someone else as well. So
yeah, and Eddie and I were like you once, right? And we were first in DMs, and we started asking questions, and then we were like, maybe I should record a video or write a blog post about this. And so everyone starts somewhere. So I second that. Ask your questions in the comments so that other people can also see the answers. There are no dumb questions. Those don't exist. Matt,
Y'all, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much for inviting me. Fatima, we've been talking for I don't even know how long, since I started about a year ago, about doing some work together. Really excited to be part of the inaugural show, and looking forward to working with y'all moving forward.
Yeah.
Matt,
so Mane,
you two are real ones.
We did our first episode.
I know. I have this massive sigh of relief coming through me. We did it.
Yeah, we should get t-shirts made.
And honestly, the audience was engaged. We got to give a special shout out to everyone who attended.
Yes.
your reactions, your commit messages, your question. You all made this so much more fun and engaging. So thank you all for being here
Couldn't have
and
done it
making this
without all
first
of you.
show a success.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
all about
and
the
we
community and the collaboration. And I think within GitLab, outside GitLab, and the broader community, like it wouldn't be the same without the people.
Yeah, and we'd love to hear your feedback. If you're with us today or you're watching us at 2 acts later, let us know. Was it exciting? Was it fun? Would you like to see a longer dive demo? What kinds of topics you're interested in? We'd love to hear from you.
Awesome. We'll see you all next month. Thanks for tuning in.
Bye.
Thanks,
so much.
everyone.
Ooh.